This is Sarah Cannon, and I'm here with the Region 5 group interview. For our first set of questions here, I'd like you to tell me about the general context of your position. Could each of you just tell me what your role is within the Region 5 Education Service Center?
Sure, Sarah, this is Danny. I'm the Executive Director.
Thank you.
And Sarah, this is Byron. I'm Deputy Executive Director.
This is Mary Ann, and I'm a field service agent and have been working as our Hurricane Harvey liaison of our district.
Thank you all for being here. And you all work with the Region 5. Do you also work statewide, or is it exclusively Region 5?
Region 5 is one of 20 education service centers, and although we have designated regions within the state, and schools in that region are considered, I don't know if members are the right word, but we have certain schools that are our primary responsibility. At the same time, any school in the state of Texas can work with any service center on any effort or product. So we are primarily regional, but we are also a statewide organization.
Okay, thank you. And how long have each of you worked with the agency, and particularly how long have you worked in your current roles?
This is Danny. I've been there 16 years total, and this is my sixth year as Executive Director.
Thank you.
This is Byron. I have been Deputy Executive Director. This is my first year, probably 7 or 8 months so far, and I was a field service agent prior to that for 2 years.
Okay.
This is Mary Ann. I've worked here for 10 years. It is part-time. I'm retired, and working with the districts with hurricane damage. I've done that I did it with Hurricane Ike for 1.5 years, and then now doing it with Hurricane Harvey.
Okay, thank you. And Mary Ann, that leads really naturally into my next question, which is, was Hurricane Harvey the first storm you've had to address in a professional capacity? It sounds like that answer is no, at least for you. What, if anything, made Hurricane Harvey unique?
The Hurricane Harvey had several unique factors, starting with the fact that it was a water event much more than a wind event was not unique, because Ike was also a water event. What was unique about Harvey was that it was a water event, that the damage was primarily freshwater. It wasn't a storm surge like Ike with saltwater damage. It was a freshwater event resulting from over 50 to, in some places, over 60 inches of rain in a 3-day period. Mm-hmm. The other thing that was completely unique about Ike was the duration of the storm, because it just stalled out over us for days, and the fact that it was so incredibly widespread with the flooding. Those, to me, were the most unique things about Harvey compared to Rita, Ike, Umberto, or Katrina.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Our next set of questions are about the general impact of Hurricane Harvey on school and district operations and on school-aged children. What were the primary challenges that the hurricane created for school district operations that you've seen and heard about?
Mary Ann, you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure. When we think of it, I think it was trying to get back to school. We actually have 9 districts which we consider to be the heaviest impacted, where they actually lost use of their either one campus or multiple campuses. So their biggest challenge is we're trying to get temporary buildings or facilities where they could secure classroom space so that they could get their kids back in school.
Mm-hmm. So just trying to get the space for schools.
Right. We've got, one district that is holding classes in churches, and then also some empty space in a strip mall, because they've lost two of their campuses, and plus then we've got four actually that have had to bring in temporary buildings in order to house a whole campus.
Okay, and I'll be asking more about those responses later. Did these primary challenges vary across school districts?
Yes, I think every school district's challenge was unique in some way. Some schools, the school had minimal damage, but majority of the neighborhoods may have been devastated. In other areas, perhaps the housing was not as impacted, but the school district buildings were devastated. It absolutely varied from district to district. A big impact on that too, Sarah, is districts have different capacities to respond, as do communities. So some communities, cleaned up quickly, while other communities are still just in the beginning phases. So in some ways, although it was consistently a water event, it was not like Rita, where a lot of the damage was wind driven and tree damage. It was the consistency of Harvey was that it was water damage. In most districts, it was fresh water, which is a different challenge from salt water, but within each district there were also myriads of unique challenges as well.
Yes, thank you. What were the primary effects of the hurricane on school-aged children that you've seen or heard about?
Definitely homes being impacted, transportation being impacted. Many students were living, evacuated, so completely uprooted. Loss of school supplies, loss of clothing. Many schools, waived dress codes for faculty and students because they just didn't have clothes. Obviously, sleep patterns, incredible amounts of stress. Byron or Marianne, I just can't, the impact on students was basically in every facet of their lives.
Yeah, another thing that was happening around the area was there were communities that were completely isolated, like you couldn't get in or out. And so just finding basic necessities like food was a challenge. Because all the roads leading in or out were flooded.
Yes.
And something that may not be mentioned much, but certainly impact on kids. Literally thousands of pets were lost in this, so you're just talking about kids losing their physical possessions, things they care about like pets, the mental disruption of their daily life, the stress that comes from, obviously parents being stressed because of housing and everything. Basically, every facet. For a kid directly impacted by being flooded and displaced from their own home, every facet of their life was impacted. For kids whose homes were okay, they were still impacted by their friends, people they knew, and just the visual devastation that they witnessed had to have an impact as well.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Our next set of questions are about what happened immediately after Hurricane Harvey struck. Could you walk me through how you began to address recovery needs for school districts?
Well, it always starts with identifying the degree of damage. And one thing that was different here from Rita, and to an extent because we maintained cell service through most of this, which we did not in some of the earlier hurricanes. So the